Shut me down.
Oh.
Hey, 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 good morning, lovely people. Hello, Facebook, YouTube Live. So happy to have you. And Twitter, tweet. This is too much fun. Okay, and that's part of Saturday morning. It is just such a great time to enjoy life. And part of leading well is to make sure that all three facets of our life are in sync. So, I mean,
Mhm.
we want to make sure that spiritually we're good
Yeah.
and that we're good with our family and friends, that work is good. And when one of those is misfiring, we're not living our best life. But let me tell you what, I have this international guest speaker from the Bahamas. I'm so excited to have Siobhan with us today. You know what? Everybody has somebody in their life that is sandpaper. Do you hear me? Well, here's what's even scarier to me is that sometimes we are the sandpaper for other people and we don't
True.
even realize it. Oh, so Siobhan, welcome, welcome, welcome. We want to learn how to work with people that are sandpaper, and we want to be able to understand how we can fix it to where we aren't rubbing people the wrong way either. So before we get started, I know it helps our listening audience both live and recorded later if they get to know a little bit about our guest that is here. So we want to hear all about you because first of all, girl, you got style. Your style is great. Your presence is great. And I'm like, man, I need to hang with her. Just so you guys know, even before the broadcast, I was like, you want to come to Tennessee? I mean, I'm really liking everything I'm hearing and seeing from Siobhan. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're passionate about.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you so much for having me, Sherry, and to your viewing and listening audience. It's absolutely an honor to be here with you this morning. And a bit about Siobhan. I am a native of the Bahamas, born and bred, Nassau, Bahamas. Yes, the island where God lives, sun, sand, and sea. It's all true.
Yes, it
The
is.
beach.
It's gorgeous.
Yes, turquoise waters. I mean, it is phenomenal. It's a blessing to live in the Bahamas. And just so you know, listen, I went to school not only in the Bahamas, but I got my bachelor's degree in economics and business in Canada. So I went from the complete warm climate of the Bahamas to the complete cold climate of Canada and lived there for a few years. And I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. It was phenomenal. And I'll tell you also, I did my master's while working here through Nova Southeastern, which is a school in Florida. And then I just completed my doctorate degree actually with Barry University. So it has been a phenomenal journey. And that's the education exploits on the work experience. As soon as I finished college, I started working in offshore banking. And then I moved from offshore banking into commercial banking, where I got started pretty much in human resources. And I've been working in human resources now for over 20 years. You believe that? Wow. It's just every time I say it, it's mind boggling, right?
You're just not that old. I just don't know if I can even believe that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And so I started out, yes, with a commercial bank in human resources and became the head of human resources there. And while there, of course, I would have dealt with numerous people, unions, industrial relations, employee relations, all sorts. And then I moved on from there into insurance, still financial services, but into insurance. And I'm there as the vice president for human resources and training. And personally, I've been directing choirs in my local church when I started out, probably at the age of 17. So I've been doing that for a very, very long time. Children's choirs, youth choirs. So youth is a part of the passion and really helping people to become their best selves and develop their leadership capabilities. That is a very, very strong passion of mine. So I work with that. I deal with leadership development at my church as well to make sure the leaders are where they need to be and making the impact that we need to make on our communities and in our nation. I'm married and I have 3 sons. And so it's a full it's full, definitely.
My three sons. That is phenomenal. Okay, so what I love about what Siobhan shared, She told you all three aspects of her life. She talked to you about the education side and the great exploits. Siobhan, I'm still working on my doctorate. I do have 2 bachelors, 2 masters, both in education and theology. So I have a lifelong passion for learning, much like you. I think that learning is pivotal to becoming the best person that you can be. So super duper important. Also, I have 4 grown daughters, and I have 9 blood grandchildren and 15 by choice. So I believe that family is very important. I have been in children's ministry since I was actually 11. They put me to work early as a coach back in the day, and have done women's ministry and Bible studies, and love the written word, love the spoken word. And all I know is that we give our best to every area of our life, and then God gives the increase. Isn't that wonderful? I just love how he works. So I think one of the first things we're just going to jump into here, I'm trying to see. Oh, good morning, Carol. Good morning, Cheryl. Good morning, Billy. We have great people joining us from all over. Okay, so let's just go ahead and jump into this. And everybody has someone in their life. We don't like to use the word, but we do. They're difficult, whether it's at work or in an organization. We entitled this the Sandpaper people because, Siobhan, there are people that can just grate on us, and we're like, God help. But we need some real tools about how to handle this. So speak into our lives this morning.
Yeah. Thank you, Sherry, for that. And sometimes, you go through those personal circumstances yourself and you wonder if it's just you, right? And then you realize that no, this has been sent your way to allow you to develop some particular skill that you will need to help someone else. So definitely, let's get started in that and dive into that, right? So the first thing I would say, in retrospect, because this isn't what I came up with during the time I was dealing with it to a large extent, right? So the first thing I would say is recognize that there is something that I may be doing to contribute. Look introspectively.
Yes.
What is it that, I may be doing to contribute to this issue? And that is the best place to start, but the most difficult place to start probably. Because when you're in the moment, you saying that, listen, I know I was saying, this is that person. I can't deal with them. What is this? And I was sure I got my first grades because of some of those sandpaper people, right? So that's the first thing I would say. And, take an introspective look. What is it that I may be doing? What is it that I may be saying?
Okay.
What is
Friends, that's worth writing down. Look inside. So many times we're quick to look to others, but somebody needs to put that in the comment section because that is good. Thank you. Good.
Yeah. And the second thing I would say is stay on the high road, right? Listen, it was so important because I remember in one of those situations with a negative coworker, I got so angry. I was so upset. As church, as deep as I thought my relationship with God was, I was upset, like holding onto my chair upset. And I realized, I said, you know what? I cannot respond in kind. So I have to take the high road. I need to breathe. So this is a couple of things in one. Take the high road as one. Then secondly, you need to breathe and count, to 10 if that's what you need to, but step away from the situation mentally.
Yes. I love that because I was thinking about this morning, and so excited to get to be with you that one of the first things God brought to my remembrance, he was like, think about the quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. She says, no one can make us angry without our permission.
Yes.
And, so many times we think it's them. And I'm actually with 3 of my grandchildren this weekend. And, man, it's as old as Adam and Eve. But people are like, she said he did. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay. But yet we have the choice. Siobhan, you
Yeah.
are sharing nuggets of gold. Man, I am loving this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for that negative coworker, recap those things that we're going to do. We're not going to be introspective. What else?
We're going to be introspective. We're going to take the high road.
Yes, yes.
We're not going to respond in kind. I think about that scripture that says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but
Oh,
grievous words stir up anger."
yes,
That is so true.
it
It is so
is.
true. So remember not to respond in kind. And to not respond in kind, you have to take a step back.
Yes.
You know, you might not have to take a physical step back, but in your mind, where you feel like you're really getting that adrenaline and you're preparing yourself to retort, you need to take a step back, breathe, and think about that gentle response.
That is so good. Take a step back.
Mhm.
Ladies, compose yourself.
Oh,
This
yes.
is just nuggets of gold here. Okay, so how does a woman charged with leadership, whether first chair, second chair, coordinator, director, pastor, minister, leader, all these different roles and hats that we hold, how do we squelch those people that seem to thrive on gossip?
Well, the thing about gossip is they go where they think they have an audience in many
Ooh,
cases.
yes,
They go, where they think, John Maxwell talks about that law of attraction,
yes,
you
yes.
know. And so the first thing I would say in terms of squelching it, you kind of need to help them to understand your boundary that this is not a dumping center. This is really my space and environment need not be toxic. I want an environment that is positive, not talking about someone, not belittling someone. And so once they understand that you're not entertaining it to a degree, because you send them a verbal and perhaps a non-verbal cue that this is not the place and I'm not the person.
That is so good. Verbal
Mhm,
and nonverbal cues. I
mhm.
loved, Shimon, what you said about people are looking for an audience. If we do not give them the opportunity, it does help dispel what they can say in front of us. And ladies, you know that we have wonderful looks and great smiles, but we also have those looks that say that's enough.
Yes.
So we can give those without being ugly to make sure that people understand. Boy, that is really good.
And let
Okay.
me add to that, Sherry, just a note. If you're in the workplace, there's a level of productivity that is expected of you anyway.
Yes.
So that gossiping becomes a distractor from the things, the priorities you're trying to accomplish, right? So
Yes.
staying focused
Mhm.
on whatever task you have at hand, whatever priority or goal you're working toward, especially if they're coming into your immediate workspace, sends
Yes.
a nonverbal message that
Yes.
I'm really busy, I have deadlines, I need to complete these. Can we talk later, or can you engage someone else around this particular gossip, juicy piece of news you have?
Okay, I love that. There is a level of productivity expected. So
Hmm.
when we are accountable, it helps hold other people accountable as well. That is so good. Okay, so we've talked about the negative person. We've talked about the one that likes to gossip. In the work environment, Siobhan, there is always at least one who feels like by fear, intimidation, being ugly, they can be the bully. What
Yeah.
about that person? How do we work?
Again, this is such a great conversation. I mean, it's really things that hit home because, doing the research, you notice that a lot or pretty much about half of the people who are bullied in the workplace are women.
Yeah, Yes.
So the reality is that women have to be able to understand how to deal with bullies and diffuse it, right? And the thing is, it depends on that woman's personality. People who are passive, introverted, they may give a bully a longer rope. They may not address it immediately. And really the ideal is to address it as it occurs. You've heard the saying, nip it in the bud. That is really what you want to do ideally, you
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
But depending on the personality, and this is, for another conversation, depending on that personality type, they may not feel as comfortable addressing it directly initially,
That
right?
is so good. It's true.
So when we nip that in the bud, which is the ideal situation, right? If it occurs again, you begin to kind of make notes as to what's happening, what scenarios are at play. This person, what are the types of things they like to bully around? What signals could I be sending off that says to them, I can be a bully target? So you want to make sure that you're making notes around the whole scenario, situation, or the circumstance, but you also want to make notes of the dates and times that these things may be happening, because you want to be prepared if this doesn't desist, if that person doesn't stop doing what they're doing, even though you've said to them that you're not tolerating it. You want to make sure that you have documented evidence or proof that this is something that is happening, has happened. This is what you've said to the individual. This is how they've persisted in doing it. And you use that information, one, either to engage them one-on-one, to say, these are the behaviors that I'm seeing. This is how it's making me feel. I want you to stop it. And if they're not doing it, engaging someone else, either a coworker or engaging human resources if you're in the workplace, to help them to understand that this isn't a figment of my imagination. This is something that has been happening, and I need your intervention to assist me to have it stop.
Okay, I love several of the things you said, and I think it's so important because many times people, as Christ followers, think, oh, I should be kind, I should be forgiving. And especially if their personality is a little bit more laid back, not as confrontational, they're not thinking about the fact that they could be sending some cues that says, my behavior will accept
Mhm.
you being ugly to me. I appreciate what you said, and somebody needs to put this in the chat box. It matters what time of day it's happening, to look and assess to see what are we doing that could be promoting this type of behavior, and then documenting. Siobhan, so many people forget that if it's not written down, it's almost like it didn't happen.
Right.
I mean, as business leaders, as women in leadership, we write things down, we track it, there's some metrics. If you
Yeah.
can find out, that the bullying always happens in the break room, or it happens if they can get you cornered or in the hallway or by a door, then you make sure that you are not positioning yourself in that
Yeah.
way. You make sure you're not there at that particular time. You change your body language. Sometimes just straightening up, sitting up, walking tall, walking at a brisk pace. We send, and you said it earlier, those verbal and nonverbal cues that let people know if we're open to conversation or whether we mean business. And I just appreciate the fact that you have given us some real practical tools about how to handle the bully, because man, that is hard. Um, and I'm seeing that some of these comments are coming in. Carol Crockett, so glad you're here. Appreciate the things that you're sharing. Same with, let's see, I saw a really good quote earlier from Miss Smith that I thought was great, and Cheryl Smith. And so you guys are really popping in there, and we just appreciate that so much. Okay, so while we're just looking at all of these people, we've talked about personality types that maybe we do or do not appreciate dealing with, and we've talked about how we look inside ourselves first in ways that we can handle these people. But you mentioned something earlier that I think really bears repeating and that we should address more. There are some people that simply do not like conflict. There are some people that are like, I'm going to go toe to toe with you. And then there are others that are like, maybe if I'm quiet or I ignore it, it will go away. Let's talk about how to address these uncomfortable situations when we are going to have, the talk.
Yeah.
What do we
Yeah.
do?
I think that is so important. And one of the things, you can take note of and recognize at the onset with a difficult conversation is that if you don't confront it, you can't change it. So change really is dependent on your building up the courage to confront, right? I know that, I went through a phase where I was like, trying to ignore it, trying to say, okay, it's going to change over time. But then I realized if I don't say it, if I don't try to address it, it won't change. So I
Okay.
think that's the first thing.
Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? And I'm so glad for the guys that are joining as well. If you do not address the situation, change is not going to happen. We are responsible not only for our actions and behaviors, but we're responsible for changing the workplace environment. We have a say in the quality of our own life. Oh, Siobhan, that is most excellent. Continue. I'm intrigued.
And the other thing about that is that the individual who may be exhibiting the behaviors that you have a concern about may not be even realizing that's what they're doing. So it's very important. Wow, it is. I mean, that it's really important to help that person to understand. Now, granted, they may know, right? But there isn't a chance they may not understand the impact that behavior is having. So it's so important for someone to almost shine that mirror, and you're not doing it to say that you're necessarily a bad person or separate the
Yes,
behavior and the issue from the individual.
that is
Let's
really good.
Okay, so what I find is helpful for a person who is perhaps a little bit more shy, more passive, and not as assertive is if that person maybe writes down what they're experiencing, what the behaviors are, and how it's making them feel, right?
Yes.
And kind of take some bullet points around a plan as to how they think it could be addressed, right? And
Yes.
for that person and really anyone going into a difficult conversation, you really should be going in there with some notes and some level of rehearsal.
Okay, I am so glad that you owned that and said that to our listening audience. I think people sometimes look at someone like you with a doctorate degree, people that are successful, and they're like, it just happened. No, it never just happens.
Right.
It takes work, it takes preparation. And Siobhan, when you shared that about gathering your thoughts,
Yeah.
love that. Gather your thoughts, write it down,
Mhm.
rehearse what you
Yeah.
want to say. If the
Mhm.
situation is uncomfortable, if you will write it down, first of all, it gets your feelings a little bit more in check.
Yeah.
If you rehearse it, then you get to think, okay, this is how I want to say it. But when you rehearse it, you also get to hear, what does it sound like?
Mhm.
Because we want to make sure that we're saying it in a way that there is a win-win.
Yeah.
No one likes correction. Quite honestly, it's a little tough unless you've invited it. But if you're getting ready to share something that could be difficult or is somewhat confrontational because you're changing the environment, rehearse what you plan to say. I appreciate the fact that you said that right now. If I could just like stand up and do a cartwheel, I would. That is pivotal. Stand up, find out what it is that you need to deal with, write it down, rehearse the information. Oh, Siobhan, this is so good. Keep talking to us because I'm feeling very encouraged, even about a situation that I know I need to speak life into. This is so good, guys. This is great.
Yes.
Billy Johnson, good morning. So glad to see you.
And then, I often say to people, praise in public, reprimand, correct, address a shortcoming or a difficult issue in private, right?
Absolutely.
So what you want to do when you want to address the situation, you want to find a quiet place, right? So you don't want the person feel as if, you're putting them on blast or something like that. And you want to be able to, in this space, start with the fact that, I don't know if you realize. So you're trying to give that person the benefit of the doubt, really, at the onset. And I think they appreciate that when it's a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you realize these things are happening, and you have a little note as to what has been happening or what has been said, and then give them an opportunity to respond to what is being said, because there may very well be a very good reason for
Yes.
it. So you may tell them what's happening, help them to understand. They may not realize, but help them to understand the impact of what is happening and the ramifications of that, and the expectations then need to be set as to how you want this interaction to flow. And then you want to get agreement. Sorry, okay, go ahead.
No, you're great.
So
I
much.
back to agreement, and I really want you to recap this. People pay big money for the information that Siobhan is sharing this morning. I mean, it is huge. I threw up that one sentence because I say it all the time. I just know that when we get to hang out in person, we're going to have a great time together. You praise in public, you correct in private. Now, somebody ought to be giving someone a high five or pat yourself on the back if you do that, because it's paramount. And to go in there being able to share, but to receive. I mean, Siobhan, some of the things that you're sharing are life changing. This is promotability 101. You
Yeah.
want to do better in the workplace. You truly want to be a leader, and a title does not make you a leader. What makes you a good leader is when people will follow, and they follow people that give respect. They follow people that know how to have the difficult conversation in a very discreet manner to where there is a win-win for everyone. Oh, Siobhan, I'm just so excited. This is really good. Okay, so recap that for us, because I mean, people are in the chat about it and they're excited. You're sharing great content.
Yeah. So with a confrontation, you want to make sure that you document. First of all, know that confrontation can bring change. That's the first thing, right?
Yes.
Secondly, know that you may be helping the individual that is actually exhibiting the behaviors that are inappropriate.
That is great.
Thirdly, write down what it is that you think needs to be changed, what the behaviors are, what the impact of it is, and then a little brief plan as to how you plan to address it. Okay, rehearse how you want to conduct the meeting, how you want it to flow, the tone you want to use, the takeaways you foresee using those particular points. Then after you've rehearsed it, set up a meeting. You want to praise in public, correct in private. So set up the meeting in a quiet place where you can respectfully address the issue. And once you're in the meeting, give that person an opportunity to respond, because they may have some valid rationale or reason that may be contributing to their behavior.
Yes.
And then land on what the expectations will be going forward, the expectations regarding the relationship, the interactions, and come up with some win-win at the end of that meeting.
Yes, it's all about a win-win with working with difficult people. Siobhan, I love these nuggets that you're sharing that are life changing. They not only help us at work with difficult people, but these same principles apply for life on the weekend, in organizations, in church, with family members. I'm telling you, you have shared things with us very similar to what I share in trainings that when we go beyond hearing them and we put them into practice, it just revolutionizes everything.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think now we want to address how women in leadership can develop, really cultivate effective working relationships. There are people that are going to be annoying. We may have to address conflict. All of these things are true. And so we've really dealt with when there's already a problem. But we want to make sure we close out today, going up that hill on a high note. So, how do we cultivate really positive relationships in work when it's on us? What can we do?
Yeah, I think people like to know that they are valued to you, that who they are is important to you.
Yes.
So, as simple as it is to engage in a conversation, to find common ground. So, I think those things are so, so important. So, if you never go past of good morning, you would never get to know an individual. So that is the thing. You can either sit next to them in the coffee room or in the virtual remote work world that we're in, set up a little Zoom meeting, you
Yes.
know, so you can have some coffee over Zoom, have a Saturday with Sherry, and then, connect afterward and say, oh, that was so good. And, just trying to develop the relationship through conversation, right? And then make sure in that conversation, you listen carefully to what that person is saying.
So true.
When you listen carefully to them, you get to understand what they value and what their interests are. So that listening allows you, especially if you're listening actively, it allows you to develop that common ground sense of, hey, I like that too. You did that. I went there too. What was your favorite thing about it? So it allows you to develop more of a conversation because of that common ground. And they may share something with you further. Oh, this is the site that I use, and this is what I did when I went there. I can share that with you when I go again. Would you like to come with me? So, that listening carefully develops now the stage for the third level of being able to find common ground, because common ground is very important when you're developing a relationship as well.
Mhm.
And then fourthly, I would say that likability factor, we have different personalities, right? And there are some personalities that mesh well with others that don't. You have to take really an inventory of your personality, one, to make sure you're not dominating the conversation, right? And you're allowing the other person to speak and interject. So you want to make sure that you're so self-aware
Yes.
that you're engaging that person in a way that they wish to be engaged, right? And then the other thing is over time, it's especially in the workplace, look for opportunities to recognize
Yes.
that person, because they may be doing something well and they may feel unappreciated. For example, you may know in conversation that this person had a particular project and they really put their all into it, and the project was successful, but they felt that they weren't recognized for their contribution. You begin to think, okay, how is it that I can put something in play to recognize this person? Maybe your organization has some sort of reward and recognition program, right? And you can use that mechanism to help them to be recognized for the work that they're doing. And that develops the relationship even further.
Okay, Siobhan, this is so good. So we listen. We know that God gave us 2 ears. When I'm working with leaders in church, we do the activities, we sing the songs, we reinforce that for children, but we reinforce it for parents. And it is so true for leaders. We listen well. I love what you said about giving recognition. Everyone appreciates knowing when someone has recognized that they're giving it their best, that they're working hard. These are some interesting times, and praise goes a long way. I thought that was just super important when you said that. Okay, Siobhan, so before you get to going with your family, those 3 sons, and just enjoying life in God's beautiful land of the Bahamas,
Amen.
tell us how we can stay in contact with you. How may people follow you? And how may we gain more of this great knowledge from your platform? Because, lady, you are outstanding. This has been an honor for me. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that, Sherry. Thank you. And so if you'd like to stay in contact with me, we have our Facebook page, Transformational Consulting Group. That's our Facebook page. We have a website, tcgconsultancy.com. We have our speaking engagements. You can actually connect with me on LinkedIn as well. If you wish to connect with me on LinkedIn, Siobhan Lloyd, I'd be happy to connect with you. You can follow our page. You can visit our website, and then we can actually connect because we do provide other courses. I'm also a certified John Maxwell coach, speaker, and trainer.
Right.
So we have that licensed content that we provide as well as coaching services and speaking opportunities and engaging with wonderful people like you, Sherry, on an ongoing basis. So you can use those opportunities and we can stay connected. Thank you.
Okay, I love it. She sounds like Wonder Woman. She looks like her too, totally gorgeous. So you have the opportunity to find Siobhan on those different outlets. You may follow me on Facebook. It's at Sherry Lynn Chester. Also on YouTube, Women in Leadership with Sherry Chester. Website, sherry-chester.com, where you're welcome to go and get Viction, my latest book, where vision and action collide, for a signed copy there, or on amazon.com. So friends, we just bless you with the ability to handle change well. We bless you with the ability to deal with your sandpaper people in an objective and positive way. And truly, we bless you with a great weekend with friends and family, that you will count your blessings big and small. Siobhan, my honor, my pleasure. I'll look forward to engaging with you more. And if you will, quickly add your content in the comment section, if you will, so that people can find that link as well during the replay. And I would appreciate that. Shannon, Carol, Lauren, all these people that have popped on. I may not be saying all of your names because the list just keeps growing and I haven't refreshed. We appreciate you joining in, for leaving the message. Now go be the world changer and influencer to be, by listening to others, recognizing others, and realize that you are the one that makes a difference in your sphere of influence. You have the ability to say, why not me? Why not now? You get to be in charge of your destiny in your life by the choices you make when you relate to other people. So I'm very excited about that. And if you have questions or comments, I would ask you to leave them in the comment section, or email me at Sherry with a Y, chester7@gmail.com, and we will get back with you today and make sure that you have all the resources in hand. Okay, Siobhan, until next time, goodbye, my friend.
Bye-bye. Great being here.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.